What's up, everybody? This is episode 12 of What They Play. My guest today can only be described as unique. And he is a member of GiantBomb.com and also the number one podcast in the universe, the Giant Beastcast. It is Dan Ryckert. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. So two things real quick. One, I am sick.
Okay.
I will get through this as best as we can. If I lose my voice, we'll figure it out. And two, you had a little bit of an adventure this morning. Do you want to tell us what about?
Oh, God. Yeah, this morning we were planning on doing this podcast, but little Razor, who you saw a second ago, he went out to go to the bathroom, a couple little drops of blood there, and so we had to take him to the vet, and they looked at it, and they said, oh, it's fine, take some pills. I guess he just ate something on the street that agitated him. So we just wanted to make sure our dog wasn't dying, and he's not. He's doing great. He seems to be in great spirits right now, so we're all good.
Everything's great. Yeah, that definitely worried me. Doggy antibiotics, doggy anti-inflammatories or whatever. Just, it's all right. And I'm glad Razor is okay.
He's doing great, yeah.
All right. So now that we have that done, I want to say, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time out to be on the show. It's always fun to try to coordinate these things. I know you're busy, but thank you very much.
Of course.
All right. Well, we've got our introductions. I want to tell you a little bit more about the show and the way we structure it here. The first part of it is kind of a little bit of a deeper dive into like how you got to where you are. Then we have some for fun questions, and I have a surprise for you in the for fun question section.
Okay.
We'll get there. And then finally we have some fan questions, because I always like to reach out to the members of the Giant Bomb community, whether it be the Facebook page or the Reddit, the subreddit. Everyone had something to say. I picked a couple here and there. So
great.
All right. Well, first and foremost, congratulations. You're a married man.
I am. Yes.
The first ever
ring on my finger there. It feels great.
It's definitely the next big step in your life, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so I do want to say thank you before anything else, not just for being on the show, but for this book, actually. Anxiety as an Ally is one of the books that pretty much helped me get over some of my bigger anxieties in life. And the thing about this book that a lot of people may not really realize is you can go out and buy an anxiety book and read about it, but it's all scientific mumbo jumbo, this chemical in your brain, this, that, and the other. If you're just a dude and you're just a guy and you want to just know about somebody else's anxieties, read this. And a free plug, but read this book, because it just basically, it speaks to on your level, so to speak, and I gotta ask you, when you were writing this book, you're always gonna have anxiety. You're always gonna have it going forward in your life. But when you were writing this book, did you find that also therapeutic?
Yeah, it was, because in writing it, I looked back over a lot of old emails. I keep records of a lot of things, and so I was able to find all these old things, like emails I sent to teachers or to psychiatrists or to my mom or my dad or whatever when I was having a tough time. So going through the whole history of experiencing anxiety disorders was really interesting, and it gave me a broader perspective on how far I've come with that stuff, about how scared I was when I was 18 and first came down with this stuff, and finding old journal entries and things where I said, I don't know what's happening to me, I feel like I'm dying, I don't know what's going on, to where I am now with a much more clear idea and understanding of what anxiety disorders are. It was therapeutic in a way to see the progress, because like I said in the book, I'm never going to be anxiety free. I'm never going to be like, oh, I'll never have another panic attack. It's always possible, and that's one of the scary things with this, but it feels good to know that I've learned how to manage it, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, part of my own personal anxieties, and I think you've mentioned this before, it might have even been on a Dancers episode, but it was something along the lines of every time you had a panic attack, you felt like that feeling of, oh, I'm going to die. That feeling, and just talking yourself down and talking yourself out of it and saying, no, you always feel like this.
Yes.
Your heart races that much when you run a mile, so why is it any different right now?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, correlated with what's in your book, people should definitely check out if they have anxiety. But yeah, that's my plug.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's a great book. I do want to talk to you a little bit more about where you... Okay, this is a long-winded question, I guess. Ultimately, though, where you are today, can you tell me a little bit more about the road that led you on this path? Because it seems like this was always your destination. It's almost uncanny, the straight and narrow direction you went to get to where you are now with Giant Bomb. But how did you become interested in this path to begin with?
Well, I mean, obviously, I couldn't have seen what Giant Bomb is growing up because it didn't exist back then. I was one of the last generations that grew up without an internet. I was like 12 or 13 when we first got the internet. So for me, it was reading video game magazines, and I subscribed to everything from the big, EGM and EGM2 and Game Informer to Tips and Tricks and Insight and all these magazines that came and went throughout the years. I was obsessed with all of them. It started when I subscribed to Game Informer when I went to go get Mortal Kombat on Mortal Monday for Genesis, and I remember there was like a big Mortal Kombat logo, and I think it said something about like, oh, here's all the moves, all the fatalities. Oh, I got to get this too if I'm getting Mortal Kombat. But yeah, like every time my mom went to the grocery store or the mall or whatever, while she was out shopping and doing her things, I would go to the Barnes & Noble at the mall, or I would go to the magazine section at the grocery store, and I would bring spiral notebooks. And I would sit down, and if I found magazines that I didn't subscribe to, I would go to the tips and tricks section or the cheat codes and stuff, and I would just write all this. Oh, Earthworm Jim, I can get this, unlimited lives or whatever, and write it down. And I was obsessed with reading about games, like reading about game shows and E3, and it just seemed so amazing. Like, oh, these huge shows are happening, and they're all about games, and the whole world fascinated me. Specifically, seeing that like. The About the Editor section in a lot of magazines, I'd be like, oh my God, these are adults, and I think this is their job. I think this is what they do. I think they just play games and write about it and have opinions about it. And so from the age of like of 9 or so, I was like, holy shit, like this is super what I want to do with my life. I want to direct everything in my life towards making this happen, and specifically Game Informer. Like that was the one I wanted to work at. It was the first one I subscribed to. It was, I worked at FuncoLand, and then I was there during the changeover to GameStop and all that, so I was peddling the subscriptions and getting my $2 commission per subscription and all that stuff. But I read the stuff from a young age, so like Andy McNamara and Andrew Reiner, these were guys I was reading when I was a kid, and that became the goal, for sure, was to work at Game Informer.
And then from there, it kind of detailed it already. If anyone knows who you are, you've pretty much laid it all out through a series of Bombcast, podcast interviews, and so on and so forth. So we know where it went from there. But I always like to dive a little deeper into the backstory because it's interesting. Yeah. Nobody's path is the same.
Right.
It's a fun story. Speaking of GameStop, real quick, the news just came out that they're going to be open on Thanksgiving. Did you hear that? That's not okay.
No, that sucks for the retail guys. Man,
yes.
that time of year already sucks. Like, you don't want to work on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so now they're going to be open on Thanksgiving, meaning, less compassion for people.
I feel bad. I mean, I worked retail all through high school and everything, and like I feel for those guys. Like those days are rough when you got to line out the door, or you're doing a midnight release or something like that. That sucks.
I was a third key at a GameStop for 5 years, so
yeah.
That job is awful.
Were you there during the years where you had to do counts every night?
Yeah, I was there during the release of Final Fantasy X, which during that time period.
So we were probably there around the same time. I think I was there from...
We're the same age. We're both 33, so...
Oh, okay, yeah. I was there from like 2000 to 2003. So I just remember like it was the easiest thing in the world to count the 64 cartridges because it's like 5, 10, 15. But then like the PlayStation 1, we had the most games and it was just in those sleeves. So it's like, shit. And then you'd have like Fear Effect or the, Ark the Lad that had like 4 discs. And shit. This is a big pain in the ass.
And people don't know, like, this is before the computer categorizing. Like, this is like, if there was reserves, it was paper receipt reserves that you're thumbing through to find someone's receipt with a little $5 mark on the top of it or whatever.
Yeah, and we would take pre-orders for games that hadn't even been announced yet. So I remember like 2002 or 2001 or whatever, we had if you opened up our pre-order thing, there's just one huge thing under H, and it was for Halo 2, which they hadn't even shown a trailer or anything, but like everyone wanted Halo 2, and we had 1 billion pre-orders for it.
Our big one was StarCraft 2.
Oh yeah. Wow, have to wait for a while for that one.
Yeah, I mean we eventually canceled them.
Oh
and I mean, what are you gonna do? Like wait 12 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got to ask you, and this was kind of a part of the fan question thing, but like I kind of want to integrate it into the first section of this. So I'm kind of crediting a lot of people and myself on this one because I wanted to know as well. But if by chance video games were not an option, what would you be doing?
That it's so hard to say because like right now, if video games weren't an option, I've already kind of built a name and a following and stuff, and I think it'd be easier to, like, my resume is pretty good. I'd go to write for WWE, or I'd go to late night comedy or something like that. But if it was never on the table to begin with, I wouldn't have ever gotten this following. I would probably still be in Kansas. Man, it's hard to say. I think about this a lot because, I was working tech support for Garmin GPS units in Kansas, in Olathe, before I got the Game Informer job. And, I mean, the economy was in a bad place. The job market wasn't in a great place when I graduated. We're talking 08, 09, and it was a huge bummer. I was working at Garmin with a bunch of people that were fresh out of high school, and, like, I had a college degree, and I wanted to write for games. I thought that I'd done like 600 reviews or whatever. I thought that I would be able to get into the industry like right after college or whatever, and I wasn't. I mean, like, there's not a lot of turnaround, and there's not a lot of positions in full-time gaming coverage. So I don't know what I would have done, because I kind of put all my eggs in one basket. I went for this gaming journalism thing from the word go. So when it didn't work out immediately, I was kind of floundering. I worked at a TV station for a while, and that was awful in a lot of ways, for my anxiety, pay, all that stuff. I was making $19,000 a year out of college. And then I was just doing tech support with, I felt like I was kind of going to waste. I had this degree, I had all this experience, and if I hadn't got the Game Informer job, I just don't know where I would have gone. I probably would have tried to stay in the field of entertainment in some way, because as much as I didn't like working for Metro Sports, the TV station, I did like being around that world of, like, we're putting together a show. Like, I wasn't a sports guy, but I liked being in a control room. I liked, miking people up and working the audio boards and stuff like that. It was really stressful, especially in those years where I wasn't quite as good on my anxiety stuff. But it was cool. It was an exciting world. I was never checking my watch. Like, when I went to work tech support, it's just like you're looking at the clock and it's like, okay, 2 hours until I get my 15-minute break. Okay, shit, that was over real quick. 2 hours until my lunch break. Okay, shit, 4 hours until I can go home. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So I would have probably tried to go into some sort of broadcast, entertainment medium or something. But Kansas, that's super limited. I applied for every, Fox 4, Channel 41, all that stuff. And there's only so many positions there. So,
and people don't realize that is the biggest option, because then, there was no, like, hey, YouTube celebrity, YouTube channel, blah, 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 which, the early goers of that, you see, people were successful in the early times of that, but that wasn't really an option to you then.
No, not at all. And I don't know if I would have gone that route anyway, because, like, I've always taken efforts to not take the path most traveled, like, because I don't think that's how you get known. I don't think you make a name for yourself by doing what everyone else is doing. So let's say I was fresh out of college in 2016, 2017, when YouTube was a big thing. I mean, everyone's got a YouTube channel. Everyone's doing their Let's Plays. Everyone's doing, the same style. They see someone like a PewDiePie or something, which, I'm not slighting him or anything. Like, he's been extremely successful, but they try to emulate that, super, like, energetic, like, overreacting to things and everything. And, like, I don't think that's how you get noticed, by just trying to be
blending in, really.
Exactly. So I don't know if I would have graduated in recent times. I don't know what I would have done, but it wouldn't be writing, because it doesn't seem like writing is really a way in right now. And YouTube, I don't know how you get noticed. That's the thing. Like, people email me all the time or DM me saying, like, how do I get in? I want to write about video games. I want to write game reviews. And just a few years ago, I always had the same advice. Just keep writing. Doesn't matter if no one reads it, or 100 people read it, or it's on a Tumblr blog. Like, you'll get better as you write. Blah blah. I was optimistic about the idea of anyone can get a job or get experience if they write enough and get better. But nowadays, God, look at the number of full-time writing positions in gaming journalism. There's so few. So now I just tell people, like, hey, you can do it, and more power to you if you stick through this, but this is going to be a long thing that might not necessarily pay off, because there are very few positions and they're getting fewer.
Yeah. You kind of led me to skip a question real quick, and I'm going to go to the next question, because you kind of it's a good segue into it. Speaking of the road less traveled and the uniqueness, it seems like Giant Bomb really allows you, and everyone involved in there, to have a lot of creative control over what goes into the content that you produce. sometimes it seems like a hodgepodge of ideas, and none other is more apparent than Steal My Sunshine. So, like,
I love it.
When you guys were explaining that, it was just like, we have this aspect, this aspect, this aspect. Let's add this. Let's do this. I was like, okay, let's just everything at once. But I got to ask you, when it comes to creating something like that, what really, like, what goes into the process of that? Because it couldn't have just been, instantaneous.
No.
What goes into that process?
Well, there's a lot of collaboration on anything we do. The four of us talk about any feature idea. We've got a few right now that we're talking about, and it's a lot of bouncing ideas off each other. Somebody will come up with the kernel of an idea, but then that might morph a billion times, and then you get a final result. So with Steal My Sunshine specifically, which, God damn it, I love doing that. I'm doing it tomorrow, and I'm so excited. I love that game so much. I rarely want to do just a straightforward playthrough of things. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, I did that a bunch of Game Informer, and it's really fun. But if I can add a wrinkle to it, I like to. Because everyone's doing Let's Plays. Everyone's, you can see full playthroughs of every game on YouTube. And I don't necessarily want to add stuff just for the sake of making it weird. I want to make sure it's a fun thing. And so I knew I wanted to do a Sunshine playthrough because I've talked about it for so many years. I mean, some of those early Bombcasts, me and Jeff arguing about Sunshine. I've always wanted to do a full playthrough of that. And then I started thinking about, like, man, what are some twists on it that we could do that's not just me trying to play through all of Sunshine? And I started thinking about titles before I even had a firm concept of the show. And I thought of Steal My Sunshine, because I remembered that was a song. Like, I never listened to modern music at any point in my life, but I remember knowing that there was a popular song called Steal My Sunshine. And I was like, that's a pretty good title for a feature. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, it has to be like Steal My Sunshine. There has to be some element of, like, like some competitive nature to it. And I was like, okay, well, how about we all play and we take turns, and then there should be some sort of scoring system. Like, I don't know if we have a whiteboard and we're just tallying stuff, or at first I was asking, like, okay, Vinny, could we do a thing where we have a running tally on the screen, like our score for how many shines we got, and, like, we'll pass the controller every time we die or get a shine. And he was like, well, if we're all going to be passing the controller and we're all on this, it might be kind of tough to, have this overlay the whole time. And so I kept trying to think, like, what's a good indicator? What's a visual way to show how this is working? And then I thought of the gumball thing. I don't know if I thought of it, or that might have come from me and Vinny talking about it. I can't remember. But it's like, well, you got to be able to steal it, too. There has to be, like, if we're calling it Steal My Sunshine, it can't just be points. And so I was like, okay, there's got to be a way to steal other people's shines. And that's when, like, the betting stuff came up and everything. And man, that's kind of it. It just starts with the kernel where it's like, I want to play Mario Sunshine. Okay, I want to call it Steal My Sunshine. Okay, what does that mean? And then, it all comes from there after talking for a while.
You guys have such a beneficial side effect of such a close-knit community with Giant Bomb, because when you do a game, you almost immediately see, like, this instantaneous reaction from the people
yes.
who watch you. So things like Metal Gear Scanlan, which was an instant success, things like Hitman, Battlegrounds, those things you just immediately see this flock of attention to. And I bet that probably goes a little in the ways of what continues in a series as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, and certain games lend themselves to, like, look at Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds is the game right now that everyone's streaming. I mean, every site's doing their streams of Battlegrounds, and, like, we're not doing anything particularly crazy with it. Like, we are just doing we're just playing the game. But that game I think it's a really fun spectator sport. It's fun to watch those stories play out organically. Like, I don't think we need to throw a gimmick in there. And plus, Giant Bomb fans come to Giant Bomb because they like the personalities. Mm-hmm. So even if we're playing the same game that everyone else is playing, it's like, okay, well, they're still getting Vinny, Jeff, me. They're getting everyone. So that's what they come to the site for. And I think the funny thing with a lot of that stuff is when you see in the comments, especially on, like, YouTube and things, it's just people that are flabbergasted that we're not, like, these pro level players or anything. Like, any of these features, like, we're just blowing it a lot of the time. I die like an idiot every time in Battlegrounds. We're missing easy jumps and Sunshine. Like Yakuza, I sucked ass at the fighting. So you see people that just don't get it. They either saw it on YouTube or don't know who we are or whatever. It's like, I just can't believe, like, these guys get paid to play video games for a living and they can't even do this super combo or whatever. It's like, hey, at no point have I ever claimed to be, or I think anyone on SAP outside of Jason claimed to be a, like, expert super player or anything. Like, I know a lot about games, and I've played a lot of games my entire life, but like outside of Soul Calibur, I don't brag about being good at anything.
Soul Calibur is my favorite game. I just want to put that out there.
It's a fantastic game. It's still so fun.
Well, if I ever meet you somewhere at a PAX or something, I'm formally challenging you to the same kind of Soul Calibur that you are used to, the
8-on-8 random. Okay, totally.
So I'm just saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that. I retired a machine locally by having a line wrapped around the food court, and I had 56 consecutive human opponent wins. And the only reason I lost the last one was because I had to go eat dinner. And the guy knew I threw it, which pissed him off.
He didn't even get the satisfaction.
Nope.
That's
so
great.
I'm just, no disrespect.
Of course, yeah.
Just putting that out there.
I would love to.
Okay, so where was I at? I'm losing my own train of thought here. Oh, a lot of okay. Some people know this, some people don't. But I do want to ask you. You've had video game credits to your name as well. Most notably, I think L.A. Noire because of the likeness.
Yep.
How did that go about? How did you get in that game?
God, that was such a weird thing. So, so basically, when I was a Game Informer, we would do the monthly cover stories, and the cover stories always involved us like going out to the studio and spending time with the whole team. Hey, we're going to interview the creative director. We're going to do this, and you usually have a team of 3. So it would be, let's say, I'd be writing the cover story for print, and then let's say it was Tim Turry. He would be doing like a month of online content. So that was trying to get people to come to the website. So he would do, every couple days, it'd be like, oh, here's this feature on this character, on this gameplay mechanic. Oh, here's a thing about the audio design in this game. And then Ben Hansen would do a bunch of videos for online. And that's how it always worked, except for with a couple companies that do things a little bit differently and kind of do things the way they want to. And Rockstar is a very interesting company, the way they deal with things. And so they said, like, we're not going to do any video stuff. And I think there was a little bit of like, oh, this is how we do the cover stories. We usually do a month of online content. And they were just like, no, we're not doing video stuff. So basically, it was just going to be the cover story. But then they sent me out as well to try to get any other story I could out of it. And so I was just kind of tagging along. Matt Helgeson wrote the cover story. And so I had no assignments. I had no like interviews set up or anything. And so I get there, and Rockstar told me, like, well, okay, one of the main things that we're trying to push at this game is like how good the facial capture is going to be. Like, we've got this new technology that we're really, really proud of. Like, if you want to do a thing about that, do you want to be in the game? And they asked Matt, and I think Matt had no interest whatsoever. He was just like, I don't know, Dan, do you want to? And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to be in the game, like 100%.
How do you say no to that?
Oh, yeah, like I loved the idea. Like, that was such an insane novelty to me. And so, yeah, they threw me in a makeup chair, and I was next to the actor that plays Ken Cosgrove on Mad Men, the main dude, Cole in L.A. Noire. And so we're just both in this makeup chair, and like Bruce Willis's personal makeup assistant is doing our makeup, and we're just chatting about Borderlands or whatever. And it's just the most surreal thing. I was still pretty new at Game Informer at this point. I think I'd been there like 4 or 5 months. And it was just such a fucking crazy thing, thinking like, 5 months ago I was answering GPS tech support, and like now I'm sitting next to this guy from Mad Men in a makeup chair in L.A. about to be kept. Like, it was fucking insane. But yeah, they just asked me to do it, and so like they wouldn't do any other online content stuff. So like I literally just flew out to LA to get put in a video game, and then flew back. And it's okay, well, this job's pretty cool. I like this. But yeah, they had me read a bunch of lines. I don't know how many they actually used, because like my character is only in that one specific. It's the Golden Butterfly homicide mission. I'm a reporter, so you see me pretty clearly in the cutscene. And then my character's still kind of milling about. And, like, I think his AI path just goes to a car and drives away if you don't interrupt it. But you can interrupt it and shove him and knock his hat off and all this stuff. And occasionally you'll hear a line from me, or just like a grunt, or, And then I think if you hit the car I'm in, I go like, oh, I hope you're insured, or something like that. But they had me record, like, 30 different lines. But it was a highlight. It was really, really cool.
Well, that was more than I was expecting for that answer, but no, I like it. That's again, I don't know how else to put it, but it just happened to you. Like, what? Like, you just happened into that game. Like, just it's amazing. The things that you've done, the things that have happened. It's actually incredible. But I'm gonna jump to the next segment real quick, and this is just the for fun question. It's not like the other ones weren't for fun, but This is an important one, and I need to know the answer to this, and so many people do. How spicy is too spicy?
Can't be.
Can't be too spicy. It's impossible?
It's impossible to be too spicy.
I don't know.
You're not going to die from getting spicy. It might be tough. It might be uncomfortable, but you're going to come out the other side and you're going to be stronger for it.
Okay, that's the Rocky Balboa approach to this answer.
Exactly. I got a bunch of Rocky posters up here.
And the Sweet Macho Man one behind you.
Oh, yeah. I love that thing.
That's a great poster.
I really love that poster.
What is your favorite piece of wrestling memorabilia?
That I own?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
The Winged Eagle belt, probably.
Oh, okay.
I've got 3 of them right here, just out of camera. I got the big gold belt, I've got the Winged Eagle, and I've got the current World Heavyweight Championship. But this is the one from the era that I started watching. You know, this is the one I saw Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin battle for. Although I think they changed it in the late 90s with Austin. But this is like the mid-90s belt, and that's when I started watching. So probably that, I'd say.
Do you have $1 million belt?
I don't. I kind of want that. Like, that's a pretty silly belt that I really like.
If you have the briefcase, you've got to go, like, get the $1 million belt. Like, you got to complete the collection.
I do have the briefcase.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny because, like, when I moved here, I basically just gave away, like, most things I own. Like, everything from the TV to this. I was moving across the country, and I didn't want to bring a bunch of shit. And so it was pretty much just the bare essentials and keepsakes, and then, like, 3 boxes of nothing but wrestling shit. So that's the stuff. I can't get rid of that stuff. My old WCW cards, all that stuff. So
oh, yeah.
I got a lot. And the amiibos, of course.
And I'm sure there's some pogs in there somewhere.
There are, yes. That's true.
You guys are actually the direct responsible people for me going and finding my Pog collection.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went back to my parents' house and dug through everything to find my Slammers and Pogs. And you responded to a tweet months and months and months back, but I had custom made a Jeff Jarrett Pog, and I don't know why.
Wait, just Jeff Jarrett, or you had a bunch of wrestlers?
Well, no, I had a couple, but it was mostly like Mortal Kombat Pogs and like Stupid Skull, the dumb generic ones. But for some reason, I had a Pog maker, and I specifically made a Jeff Jarrett Pog.
Why Jeff? Although, wait, I was about to give you shit for picking Jeff Jarrett of all people, but I remember I own a street sign for Slapnuts Boulevard, and I have a Slapnuts foam guitar, so I guess I can't throw stones.
I don't know. I thought I had it laying around here somewhere, but maybe I burned it. I don't know. Yeah, so thank you for helping me dig up those memories.
Of course.
All right, Dan, we're here in the next section of this show, and I've never done this before, but yeah, we're going to be doing something called the Waluigi Quiz.
Yes.
It's where you test your knowledge on the man, the myth, the legend, Waluigi.
Okay.
You ready for this? Now, the questions are easy to hard. The last two, there's only 4. There's only 4.
Okay.
But the last 2, interchangeable for how hard they are depending on your knowledge. But the first one is, what does Waluigi translate into?
I know wa as a prefix in Japanese kind of equates to like bad or evil, so it's basically like evil Luigi.
And that's the sound that means you are right, Mr. Dan Ryckert. All right.
Yes. I have to do good on this because I still am pissed that on that Mario quiz on the Beastcast, how the fuck did I forget Mario World and Mario Kart, like 2 of my favorite games ever. So I have to do good on this.
You weren't awake. You weren't ready for that. It wasn't.
Yeah. I don't know what my excuse was there. Shit.
But now we've been talking for a while. The creative minds are flowing, and you're not gonna miss this. I have full faith in you. So you're holding up things with ads. I cover my Miku glass with duct tape.
No, I love my brands. So.
All right. Then question number 2. Waluigi was created during the development of what game?
Mario Tennis, the first one.
Yes. That is a sound that says you are right on this one as well. Now, number 3. Kind of a doozy. I don't think anyone really Well, you are the one person I think people would criticize for getting this wrong because you claim to know so much about Waluigi.
I didn't claim to know so much. I just love Waluigi. I am an enthusiast about Waluigi, but we'll see. I want to be one of the most foremost experts in the world on Waluigi, so let's do it.
This will help you get there because question number 3 is hard. So, who created Waluigi and what company did he or she work for?
That, I mean, man, who created?
A little bit of a curveball, and that's the only clue you're going to get. It is a bit of a curveball question.
I'm honestly really bad at knowing developer names and stuff like that outside of the obvious. You know, like, I'll say Miyamoto Nintendo, even though that's the obvious answer and it's totally not right at all.
Right, man. Sorry, that sound is the sound of maybe not getting this one right, but no one's going to blame you for that. It is, I got to say this right, Funahide Aoki, and he worked for Camelot.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? They do have Waluigi say that. Camelot!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Because did Camelot make the Mario Tennis Mario Golf games?
Yeah, it's like a I don't know what to say, not partnership, but like a, what would you call that? I don't know, but yes.
An in-house studio, probably,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, like HAL.
Yes. Now, I will accept the answer to this last one if you can get 5 up or 5 below within the answer.
Nope.
Okay? Waluigi has appeared in more than blank games since debuting in 2000.
All right. You going to give me some time to count on my fingers here?
Sure.
Okay.
This is an edited show.
Okay. Mario Tennis. Mario Power Tennis. God. Okay, so like I'll ballpark some stuff here. There's probably 4 or 5. I think that sports mix and the 3-on-3 basketball. I'll say 5 sports games. How many Mario Karts? He wasn't in 64. Double Dash and pretty much everything past that. So we'll say like, okay, so 10 probably with the Mario Karts. There was the golf games. We'll say there's the GameCube one and then the 3DS one. I don't think he was in the Game Boy. No, he wouldn't have been in the Game Boy Color ones, I don't think. Fuck. The Olympics games. I think there are 3 of those. He's not. Well, are we counting assist trophies in Smash Brothers?
Any game that he has appeared in,
okay,
whether it be trophies or anything.
His likeness in anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 17 between the cards. Oh, there's the parties. Shit. I think he was in 3 going forward. So that's like 7 right there. So what was that?
Wasn't he the main antagonist in 3 as well?
Was he?
I think so. I don't know.
I don't remember the plot of 3.
I don't think the plot is not the important part.
Yeah. So we'll do. So I was at 17. So 17 plus 7, we got 20. I'm at 24-ish right now. There's probably a couple like DS portable ones or something that he was in. So I'll put it at 26 right now. So 26. Fucking what else was he in? I mean, he's a thing in Mario Maker if you put the amiibo down. So we'll say 27.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a lot. I'm sure I'm missing some. Fucking. I'm sure I'm blanking on some obvious, like, you know, the way I blanked on Kart and World, you know, it's like I'm sure there's a whole thing that I'm forgetting.
I think you get this anyway. I think just because you've named as many as you have, that's more than the average Joe would do, so...
Let's say I'll put in a buffer of 3, and so I'll say a firm 30, and I bet I'm within 5.
It is actually more than 40, but...
Fuck!
But it's completely acceptable. I'm giving you the right answer for that one because I without looking at the list, I would have never actually come close to what you did. So
I gotta look at that list. I know man, wow.
So you definitely passed the Waluigi quiz. Congratulations,
okay.
Dan Ryckert.
It's not better, but I'll take it.
You win the opportunity to answer some fan questions.
Sure, let's do it.
Thanks for being a good sport on that one.
Sure.
Okay, so now the next section is, and this is the final section of the show, the fan questions. People flooded me with things for you, and it was. I did a little editorializing with some of these, but for the most part, I kept them the way they should be. But Loris asks, and this one's from, I do believe, the Giant Bomb subreddit. He asked, "Do you think they could ever make another good Twisted Metal game, and what would it take to do so?" That's a hard question.
I think out of all my favorite series over time, that's the one that you can most like just kind of put in the ground and leave it to the memories, because I was so excited when they announced that new one in 2011, 2012 or whatever it was, when they had the ice cream truck come out on stage, and I was so excited. It's like, oh my God, it's Jaffe, it's Campbell, it's the right team, they got the right idea. And then I saw the helicopter stuff and everything. I was like, all right, we'll see. But then, even without all the helicopter stuff, playing that game and that style of game, it just feels dated. I still enjoyed it. I gave it a good review. I liked the game, but it wasn't really doing it for me. Like looking back on it, it's not a game that stuck with me. It's well made, but that style, that genre, is just kind of like, it feels like late 90s, early 2000s. It's just kind of bare bones. There's so many more options with multiplayer games now that just driving around and shooting missiles and stuff. I don't know. It's arcadey, but it also felt kind of dated. So I'm fine with being done with Twisted Metal. Because hell, Drawn to Death had some of those same ideas and everything. And I don't know if you saw the quick look or any reactions that came from that, but I don't like Drawn to Death.
It struck a nerve with you, Dan.
Forced bad humor is just like kryptonite to me. I just fucking hate it, and that's so much of what that game is.
Well, I have a thing with cringe humor, not even cringe humor. Like if it makes me cringe, I can almost just not bear to watch it because I feel embarrassed while watching it.
Yeah,
it almost gives me that same feeling. Watching that game gave me the same feeling as someone standing in front of everyone at like a basketball game and proposing, and the person says no.
Yeah,
I was like, oh no, turn this off, go away.
You can't look away from that stuff. It's fascinating. Like there's whole like subreddits and stuff dedicated to that, and there's something to that.
There is something to that, but at the same time, Jaffe and everyone involved really put effort into making this something they thought was going to go forward, and it completely missed its mark.
Well, that's the thing that sucks. Is like it's my job to say my opinion about games, and I did not like that game. I think I used the word hate. Like I really hated a lot of what that game was doing. But at the same time, I understand this is stuff that they worked on so hard for so long, and there's a team of people that really cared about what they did. Like the art style is really cool. Like people put themselves into that game, for better or worse, and they cared. And so it sucks to like sometimes just go out there and like, well, I have to shit on this game because I really aggressively don't like this game, and it's my job to get that across. But I'm not saying that these people are, I would never attack developers personally. Oh, they're idiots. There's lazy development. Like whenever people talk about developers being lazy or whatever, there's so much that goes into making a game that you don't see. And, games can be bad, but most of the time they're made with good intentions with people that really worked hard on it. So I try to never insult the actual people.
I mean, the ultimate hope is that once something like that happens, a developer will take that criticism and be creative with it the next time around and not take it I mean, I guess you have to take it to heart because you have to know what was wrong about it. Yeah. But yeah, you hope that they spin that into a positive later in their next project.
You hope that. And I mean, Jaffe, I don't know if you saw all the tweets he did about that quick look, but
I did not.
Oh, he went on a rant for a few days about the quick look, about me, but I don't think he understood that I was not insulting him personally, and I really have loved Jaffe's games in the past, and it sucked because I wanted him to know that, like, hey, I'm not saying you suck, I'm not saying like you did shitty work or anything, I don't like the product, and that's fine. It sucked because he really was hurt by it, I think. So it sucks. That's never my intention,
Yeah, that's understandable. It's an unfortunate side effect of being a public figure talking about other people's creations.
Right.
Okay, I gotta say this right. Hip Stereotype asks, who and what do you miss most of your former days at Game Informer?
That's an easy question. I would say working every day with Tim Turry and Ben Hansen. They are two of the most solid dudes I've ever met in my entire life. I stay in touch with them regularly. They were at my wedding. Tim was my best man. I was just at Ben Hansen's lake house for the 4th in Minneapolis. Like, those guys, on top of just being awesome, hilarious guys, they were such a blast to work with. They were so fun to kind of play off of. And it's not just them. There are other guys that were there or are still there that are great. Jeff Cork, Ben Reeves. There are some great folks there for sure. So yeah, it felt like a family, and I miss, like, it was such a crazy thing when I started working there that, like, it was this place I'd read for so long, and now I'm here, and it's like, oh my god, these are the writers I read for so long, and like there's just games everywhere. We've got this giant vault that goes back to like it felt like a museum of, like, there's so much history with Game Informer and so many stories. Those guys, Andy McNamara's been doing it for so long. So yeah, I had my issues with the place, which is why I left. But when it comes down to it, like, I wouldn't be where I am without Game Informer, and Game Informer gets a lot of flack from a lot of people. Some deserved, some not deserved. But, like, it was one of the most frustrating things. Sorry, I'm going on a lot of tangents today. But okay. People always say, like, you see in the comments, like, oh, it looks like Activision didn't pay enough for a good review this time. GameStop's for sale. All this, like, everyone assumes that all game critics are bought and sold, which I've been doing this for 12 years and I haven't seen that at all. But specifically Game Informer. And in the 5 years I was there, no one asked me to change a score. Even if I was, like, way lower or way higher than the general consensus, like, I was never pressured to change what I said about something or change an opinion. So they do good stuff for sure.
Awesome. And this is my final question, and I'm almost apologetic that I'm going to ask you this just because, like, you haven't heard it before. I got this the most, so I always, regardless of what it is, I always try to ask the one that most people generally want to ask. So this is credited to everybody, both.
Okay.
Well, before I ask you this, I do want to say that I was given a specific note for this interview to apologize to you and everyone at Giant Bomb East specifically for those nasty sodas that were sent in to you guys from the Facebook. It was from the Giant Bomb Facebook. Yeah, I was actually messaged by one of the moderators and said, please apologize for us. So I'm apologizing for them.
Oh, that smell. Little peek behind the curtain here. I have wanted for a while now to put one gumball in that gumball machine for Steal My Sunshine, and if you get that, you have to drink a whole ranch soda. And that was met with we can't do it. We can't, just Abby was so horrified by the idea because it smelled so bad. But I'm still going to try to weasel that in somehow. But I accept the apology.
That's dangerous, by the way. But the actual last question is there a discussion for an endurance run for Shenmue 2?
It's come up. Like when we finished the first one, it was like, okay, yeah, maybe at some point we'll do this. But no, like, there's nothing in the works right now as far as that stuff goes.
That game is largely the same game as the first one.
Heard that, and there's a lot of discussions about what we do with like Yakuza going forward and everything. I know Alex wants to play them all. I think people could tell from those videos that I was not super into playing those games. So we'll see. We'll see whether
I actually couldn't tell that, to be honest with
you.
Really? Yeah, like
I got frustrated. I got frustrated with the combat and stuff, and I know I'm not good at the game, and I know I'm forgetting like moves that I learned before, but like it is honestly difficult to, when you're just playing a game 2 hours a week, like when you're playing a game at home, you're probably playing like almost every day, maybe longer than 2 hours, and you kind of remember stuff more. And I forgot stuff. I was frustrated by stuff. It's a good game. I like the Yakuza games, but I did get frustrated, and trying to remember that stuff and doing it in front of an audience and all that stuff, it was not the best way for me to play a game like that. But we'll see. We'll see if we do it going forward with Alex playing, or who knows if it's going to be next year. We have no firm plans right now. We've got Steal My Sunshine going on. That's going to be a weekly thing. We've got another thing that, when does this podcast go up?
I'm going to try to edit it tonight or tomorrow, so it may be a day or two, maybe 3.
Okay.
I'm going to try to. My time is spread among a lot of things. So.
Yeah. Well, then a little teaser, because this will probably come out a little before this next thing we're working on. But we do have another recurring thing in the can. We've started it, and I think it's pretty cool. I'll leave it at that because
don't want to spoil it.
Surprise. Yep.
All right, Dan, thank you so much for everything. I want to encourage people to, again, this book is great. It really is.
Thank you.
You know what? I talk about the things that I love, much like you and Taco Bell. I want to make sure that you know, if people have anxiety, check out the book. It's something that spoke to me. Maybe it'll speak to you. Thank you so much for your time. Giant Beast Cast every Friday. Catch Dan Ryckert and a million other things. Like, I know a lot of the people watching this are people who know you and know how to reach the content that you guys put out. But in case you don't, you're a great guy, and they should definitely check out your work at giantbomb.com.
Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Of course, you too.
Hey guys, what's going on? As you can tell, I'm wearing a different color shirt now because this is the second day of me editing this video. It was a lot of fun. The edit was great. Everything went smoothly. This is one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. So thank you so much to Dan Ryckert for being on the show. And you guys, you know, as always, it helps me out if you subscribe and hit the like button. You know, all that garbage that you hear every day from every other YouTuber in the world. But it does actually mean something. It does actually help. So if you want to, please do it. I would appreciate it. But I'm going to go ahead and end this video here and say thank you again so much for watching. And yeah, I'll be back as soon as I can with another video, another interview, another gameplay video, something. I'll be back with more stuff soon. You guys take care, and I'll see you soon.